They drove to a basketball game and never came home. Days later, their car was found deep in the mountains. It wasn't broken. It wasn't out of gas. But the men were gone. And what investigators found months later still doesn't make sense. On February 24, 1978, 5 friends from California set out for a simple night. Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Jackie Hewitt, Ted Weiher, and Gary Mathias. They weren't criminals. They weren't reckless. They were excited. Because the next day, they had a basketball tournament they had been preparing for. That night, they drove to Chico State to watch a game, laughed, cheered, and then headed home. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. 3 days later, their car was found, but not where it should have been. It was discovered high in the mountains, in a remote area of Plumas National Forest, miles away from their route home. And here's the part that doesn't make sense. The car wasn't damaged. It wasn't stuck badly. It had gas. It could have been driven out. But for some reason, they abandoned it. Think about that for a second. 5 grown men leave a perfectly working car, in freezing conditions, in the middle of nowhere, and then walk into the mountains. What could possibly make them do that? Were they lost? Or were they running from something? For months, there were no answers. Snow covered the mountains, hiding everything. Then in June, the snow began to melt, and what they found was disturbing. One of the men, Ted Weiher, was found inside a Forest Service trailer, a shelter, a place that could have saved him. Inside the trailer, there was food, enough food to keep someone alive. There were blankets, there were supplies, but somehow, Ted Weiher had died of starvation. He had been there for weeks, possibly even months. The other men were found scattered across the mountain, some along the path between the car and the trailer, others deeper in the wilderness. It looked like they had been wandering, or searching, or trying to escape. And one of them was never found. Gary Mathias. No body, no trace, just gone. Then came the details that made this case even more confusing. Weiher wasn't wearing his own shoes. He was wearing Mathias' shoes, which means Mathias likely made it to the trailer, and may have survived longer than the others. So where did he go? And why didn't he use the food? One witness that night claimed he saw people in the mountains, with flashlights. He even called out for help. But instead of responding, the lights suddenly went out, and the voices disappeared. Some believe they simply got lost. Others think panic took over. But many believe something else happened. Something that made them abandon their car and walk into the freezing darkness, because none of their decisions make sense. So what really happened that night? What would make 5 men leave safety behind and walk into the mountains, never to return? If you want the full breakdown, theories, and hidden details behind this case, subscribe now, because this story gets even darker.